Hi everybody, Karl Diffenderfer here with Higher Impact, and we're glad that you could join us today. Today we actually had our sales mastermind meeting, which is really there to help you sell yourself better and how to market yourself better, how to manage your pipeline, how to organize your life, how to automate your life so that you're better prepared to make more sales. I mean, we all need to do that in some way, shape, or form. And so, let's kind of recap from the meeting today for the people in our audience.
Well, first of all, you introduced yourself. So Bruce, why don't you introduce
Yeah, you're right.
I'm Bruce Kent. How are you doing today?
I'm April Book.
And I'm Randy Miller. I think one of the things that was interesting that came up today was several of the business people talked about the fact that they didn't have the ability to follow up the way they wanted to follow up, and they were losing sales because of that. They called back too late and found out somebody went with somebody else. And several of the programs that you showed them addressed that point, and I thought that was very important.
Yeah, we talked today about software automation, but we also talked a little bit about setting the stage with people so that we know the next steps. We're having clear next steps with the sales process so that when we leave somebody, we're not actually unclear about what's happening next. I see that as a big problem in sales. I run into a lot of people that do that, and it's a problem. Do you see that too? Or?
So when you say setting the stage, what came to mind for me today is that when an attorney stipulates, they say in advance what we're going to talk about.
That's a good way to
so
put
you
it, yeah.
stipulate something. Am I on track here with what you
absolutely.
do?
Yeah.
I know you're a retired attorney, so
Retired.
in the background, if you're stipulating something, you're letting the person the listener know that this is where you're going to go, or that you're saying, we know this from the beginning. So when you talk about setting the stage in the sales context, can you help us understand what do you mean by setting the stage?
Yeah, so in sales, oftentimes we know, because of our experience, what could happen in that conversation. And so instead of waiting for that person to give you a certain objection or to not be prepared to give you a clear answer as to whether or not they're interested, you set the stage up front and say, well, here's what I expect for us to cover today, and this would be the intended result. Does that sound good to you? And in doing that, you're kind of creating this space for them to, first of all, object or add to it, but also then you're saying that we have a clear goal of why we're here today, and we hope to achieve something out of this. And so that kind of creates a clear upfront, this is where we're going.
And it's disarming too. Everyone takes a deep breath, and it's. I think the other term you used in that dialogue was, "Will this be a good fit?
Yes.
Is this a good fit?" It's not like you're not being salesy. You're becoming the trusted advisor. Like, you can relax. I'm relaxed. Let's have a dialogue about this, rather than just kind of pushing against the possible objection that's coming. There's no pressure to it because you've stipulated it. You've set the stage for it, and you've diffused any of that tension or pressure.
Yeah, and I tell people, build some trust and rapport for sure, but there's really no reason you can't talk about the price, the cost, early on in the conversation as opposed to later, because what a lot of people do is they create sticker shock. They talk about the price too late, and people are like, I can't spend that kind of money. Whereas up front, if you give them a range and say, well, this could cost anywhere from this to this, and we'll walk through it together and decide what's going to be best for you, it gives them that up front of, okay, this is the range we're talking about, and it starts to warm them up to, okay, could this work? Also, if there's no way they can afford that, hopefully, they don't always do this. Sometimes they steal from you and they don't tell you that they're stealing from you, but hopefully they tell you, hey, that's going to be out of my budget. And then you can figure out, okay, well, where do we go from here?
Yeah. And also, not everybody's going to be a client.
Right.
And it's good to weed them out in the beginning instead of spending time getting nowhere.
Exactly.
And this helps do that.
Yeah, I mean, I did an exercise with a client this past week. They were spending about 10 hours, 2 hours per meeting for 5 potential customers. So 2 times 5, 10, you can do the math. And I said to them, well, why don't we try to get that down to 1 hour? What would you need to ask? How would you need to do that to get that down to 1, because now they can see double the amount of people in the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Think about how many more sales they can get from that. If they're getting 1 out of 10, they've just guaranteed that they're going to get customers doubly as fast, which is very, very important.
Yeah.
What are some other thoughts from today's sales mastermind meeting?
I thought it was interesting how you showed us a number of different plugins and applications, but I think it's really important to remember that everybody functions in their own way and utilizes tools in their own way. So a lot of business owners and even managers wear a lot of different hats. So finding the best plugins and applications for you, because a lot of those applications do a lot of the same
Same thing.
things, thank you, and so you don't necessarily need 5 or 6 if that's too many for you. So just finding the best method for yourself.
Yeah, and for me, one of the things I've looked at is if I can set it up to minimize the steps. So if I can scan a business card and have it automatically added into my leads pipeline, that's valuable. Now all I gotta do is scan the business card. Whereas if I have 5 steps to get that person into a pipeline or a follow-up sequence or whatever, there's a ton of work involved with that. I'm most likely not gonna do it because it's just too much.
So we were having this conversation about the difference between me using paper and me using my phone's elsewhere right now, but having my phone or my tablet or whatever. And if I'm putting it on paper and putting it in the tablet, if I'm having to transfer it from one to the other,
Yeah.
there are 2 steps at least there. And someone brought out that you could actually do that by voice. So instead of me having to type all of this out, I could just say it. I can read it out loud,
Yeah.
and it transfers it automatically. And probably some of our viewers, you already know how to do this, but there were business people sitting at this table who had the old school sitting right next to some technology that they are going to use.
Yep.
And so many of us, April was pointing this out too, that many of us we're still in that. We haven't transitioned over.
Yep.
And so I'm an example of it. I'm using it right here, but there's a little bit of internal pushback.
Yeah.
It's being overwhelmed. I felt a little today like, man, not just one fire hose, but I had 2 or 3 fire hoses that I was trying to drink from at one time. And I had to kind of come back to this thought that I heard from someone many years ago, actually, in relationship to technology. And that was, if you're looking for technology to be the answer for something, you have to look at it as, what am I currently doing? So if I'm using a calendar, then I can use a technology calendar far more efficiently.
Yeah.
But it's still a calendar. So
Right.
I'm already using a calendar. If I'm trying to do something that I've never done before, I'm probably not going to use technology to do it, because I'm not doing it now.
Yeah.
It's not going to cause me to do something. It's going to help me do something.
Yeah.
And I love what you said. It's like if I do things repetitiously, how do you say that? I'm doing something repetitiously over and over and over again.
Why keep doing it? Why not try to automate it? Why not try to get rid of it so that I don't ever have to do it again? And I'm big on automation in business. I think it's so powerful. And sometimes automation actually means delegating. And I think in a future conversation, we're going to talk about how to effectively delegate, because I think that's really, really important. And business owners struggle with that. And so we'll come back to that one.
One of my biggest takeaways today was, I've got to learn what these programs do that I don't know that they do, because a calendar is a calendar. But he showed us today that I can do all this other stuff with a calendar that I didn't know I could do with a calendar just by having some plugins. And I was fascinated. I had a lot of questions, and I'll probably have to go home and look up a lot of this stuff. But I found out that today I can do stuff way behind what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us today. We need to wrap up, but we hope that you guys got a lot out of today. And please feel free to come out and join one of our mastermind groups sometime and visit with us. We'd love to have you there. And keep following us. We're here to provide value and provide tons of value. And so we hope that you gain value from this and continue to learn. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Take
Have a
care.
good one.